This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, inside the twisted world of leftist temper tantrums, we are honored by the presence of three titans with us this evening. Our first guest, Jeff Crouere, the author of America's Last Chance. We're also joined by Michael Karolchyk, a libertarian activist. And backed by popular demand, Tiffany Gabbay. She's the host of The Culture Wars on Rebel Media. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
An honor to have you here. Let us begin. The Hillary supporters are demanding that Trump try to unify the nation. Meanwhile, they're breaking windows and injuring police officers on the streets. Bit of a surreal picture. Tiffany, why don't we begin with you and you tell us the psychology here?
Listen, liberalism it's a very emotional, right, political bent to have, and they're really acting like children, petulant children who basically cry and throw their tantrums when they don't get what they want. I think another thing that we always see with the far left is intellectual inconsistency, right? They're calling for unity while smashing windows, while burning American flags, while blocking buildings and endangering people. And they don't really see the irony or the hypocrisy at all. All of a sudden, the left cares about anti-Semitism. Come on. The far left is completely anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and you have George Soros, basically organizing everything through MoveOn.org. So again, there's just constantly this lack of intellectual consistency with regard to the left.
Thank you. Michael, your take?
Well, you know what, Jamie, I've written on the Clash Daily and Daily Surge probably more than anybody about the millennials of this generation, and these kids are the participation awards. These are the kids that everybody got a trophy. These are the kids that you gave prizes to when they showed up on time. And you know what? My mom and dad was never afraid to say, hey, Michael, you stink at something. You're not good. You have all this entitlement. This is what happens when they don't get what they want. I'm in a community, by the way, which is Fort Lee, New Jersey. It's 80% Asian. The Asians treat their kids like we used to in this country. Do you see Asians rioting? Do you see Asians protesting? What you see is rich little trust fund ladies who didn't even vote. That's what they're fighting. Most of these kids didn't even vote, who are throwing temper tantrums, as Tiffany said. So it's not just the kids' fault. It's their parents who hold most of the culpability of this situation. And this is why we really have to take this country back and get back to our libertarian ideals, because it's turned into one big mommy and one big nasty kid mess.
Thank you, Michael. So, Jeff, you've written about America's Last Chance and about, Michael's talking about taking the country back. Tiffany and Michael both isolating and crystallizing this entitled child that sees himself or herself as a victim. What's your take on it?
My point was just twofold. One is the media. They're partially responsible for this by promoting this type of behavior. And secondly, the colleges and universities are graduating these types of folks in degrees in social justice. We don't have the humanities. We don't have the sciences, but we have professional protesters. And I'm in New Orleans. We've got a university right down the street. They graduate kids. Parents pay $70,000 a year for tuition, and they've protested like crazy the past 6 days. I don't think they're getting an education. I think they're getting an indoctrination. And I think it's going on all over the country. And it's really sad to see what's happening to our colleges and universities.
Yes, it is. And so let's get back to Tiffany here. Tiffany, what hope do you think now there is in terms of Trump and the Trump administration going to be able to do something smoothly now in the face of these temper tantrums?
Well, it's very interesting, and I mentioned this to you the other day, Jamie. I think Trump being elected was exactly what we needed, in a way. It's a repudiation of this kind of behavior, the participation trophy, entitlement, victimology poker that has basically taken over the landscape. I was raised very, in a very similar way. My parents were very tough with me. They weren't afraid to criticize me. I didn't expect to be, patted on the head anytime I did something wrong or I didn't get my way. And unfortunately, this is the mindset. So we have an entire generation who feels completely entitled. You have professors giving days off from school, basically allowing these students to attend, anti-Trump rallies. And so I just want to bring up one crucial point. One of the things the media kept bringing up was just how, Trump had the support of uneducated, white Americans, basically Americans who lack a college degree, and how that somehow meant that they weren't smart. And my sentiment is a college degree does not equal smart. It just means you were, again, indoctrinated into the same group thing. And that's what we see here. So I think it's great. In a way, Donald Trump is that parent, and I want to see him be harsh with the media. I want to see him be harsh with the snowflakes and challenge them, because something has got to give, and we cannot coddle them anymore. And I'm really hoping that Trump will actually continue with his tough rhetoric more now than ever.
Thank you, Tiffany. Michael, I have a question for you, but do you want to respond to anything that's been said so far?
No, I think we're all on the same page. I mean, we keep calling them snowflakes, millennial kids. There's no other way to say it. They've been produced, and that's what we're seeing on TV. You're seeing at the universities, like Jeff mentioned, even at the university level, the officials have to take place of this. So I think we all agree that's the first problem.
Michael, you strike me as a brilliant psychologist as well. Give us a bit of insight in what's happening in the leftist milieus, especially in the universities and schools, where students can take the day off of school to go protest against Trump. Why can I not imagine students being allowed to take the day off to go protest Obama and Hillary? What is the psychology here where what I just said would never be allowed in terms of Obama, but it's completely normal to do it against Trump?
Well, the psychology, Jamie, and I think everybody on this panel will agree. I went to Brown, which is a very liberal college, and I had to make a decision. If I wanted A's, I would shut up and keep my mouth shut. I decided to get B's and take the professors on, and I would be bullied when I made my points, especially when I pushed them in the Brown Daily Herald paper, okay, and then got a lot of nastiness by the fellow students, and that was 20 years ago. Today, the professors, which are 98% registered Democrats, which still are those hippies from the 60s, talking about Woodstock, talking about love, and talking about all these weird ideals, they're still the ones, as Michael Savage calls it, the red diaper doper babies. Those professors are the ones that are still pushing this onto the kids, and the kids now are getting taught in public school. This is the most important thing we could probably examine. When we went to public school, there was much more men in those schools. Now you're getting taught by females who are elementary education majors to begin with, which is one of the easiest majors out there. So you have a very low scoring teacher. Then on top of that, when they get to the high school level, it's all females. They go through their whole educational experience with no men like Donald Trump. Somebody strong, a puke, who actually has a backbone. So when you complicate that with the millennial issue, now you've got real problems, Jamie.
Yeah.
And that's why the testosterone's missing in these boys.
Today's day and age, people mistaken, just being a normal, tough human being with being Hitler. I mean, this is what it's come to.
And Jeff, and so therefore, it was America's last chance in some ways. Can you talk a bit about these pathologies that Michael and Tiffany are describing and how you saw it as America's last chance?
I'm a former executive director of the Republican Party here in Louisiana. I've seen Republicans nominate moderates over the past 20 years, and they've lost for the most part. And the party has really been captured by this establishment elite, which really is not representing the grassroots, the base of the party. So there's been a lot of folks election after election that haven't come out to support the nominee, McCain, Romney. This time, we finally nominated someone who spoke to the issues of the middle class, the working class. And there was great excitement over Donald Trump like we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan on the Republican side,
Mm-hmm.
similar to the excitement the Democrats really had for Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
So he had this surge of support from the working class, from the grassroots, but the establishment hated him. And they still, I think, hate him. So this was the last chance, and then we couldn't keep going down this direction. We would have lost again if we nominated Jeb Bush. We finally seized an opportunity to nominate someone who I think was a real grassroots conservative. The media doesn't call him that. I think he is. And I think that's why we won.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have lost this election, it would have been curtains not only for the Republican Party, but it would have been curtains for the country. We would have been on the road to Venezuela. Thankfully now we've got Republicans in the Congress, we've got a Republican in the White House, and we can finally see a conservative agenda hopefully pursued. And I predict this next president is going to be as successful as Ronald Reagan. I think we're really going to make America great again.
Wow. Now, let me touch on something that Michael mentioned. I was very interested in this during the campaign. Tiffany responded briefly on it. You know, while I was watching that campaign, especially a lot of the Never Trumpers as well, I think that a large section of America now, because the left controls the boundaries of debate, I think many conservatives have a problem with the alpha male. I think that conservatives got used to the Romneys, the guys that wear the bow ties, they have a trim lawn, they're polite. In a third policy debate where you should go for the jugular in terms of Benghazi, you know, they try to be nice like Romney was. Is there a problem in the conservative movement as well in terms of a discomfort with testosterone and an alpha male? Tiffany?
There is. Conservatives' problem is they want to appear decent, right? So they always want to take the high road. And we saw this in 2012 when Romney did not assail Obama as forcefully as he should have. And listen, I think what we're seeing is that America actually likes the alpha male. And we are programmed, our caveman DNA is programmed to actually respond well to that, to respond well to strong leaders. But the left is always fighting against our biology and against our nature, right? And unfortunately, conservatives have really succumbed to that ideology as well. So they think if they act refined and they just kind of, keep their head down and they take their blows and they lose gracefully, that they're somehow going to be liked. But they're actually not liked, and they don't win. And you can't affect change, and you can't, affect policy if you don't actually win sometimes. And so, absolutely, I think Americans, human beings in general actually do respond well to the alpha male when they are not programmed into thinking that they shouldn't respond well to it. And I think conservatives have absolutely fallen victim to that. And again, Trump's winning is a big repudiation of conservatives as well.
Yeah, and even when Michael was saying that in the last segment, when he said, "Oh, they're being taught by females," and right away, even the way the culture has been shaping us, some of us think, "Oh, he's putting down females," but that's how the left wants us to think. He's not putting down females. There's just simply a fact that females have their great roles and what functions they have, and males do as well. And it's important to have male and female in everybody's life. Michael, go ahead with that. You want to expand a bit on that, of the discomfort with the alpha male now?
Well, you know what kills me? Is psychologist after psychologist looks at what the Democrats did to the African-American community in the 70s and 80s, where we removed fathers, and especially in the 90s, which I've written extensively on, the Clinton drug bill, crime bill, we'll call it the drug bill, where we took African-American fathers, stuck them in prison, and left these boys at home with their mother and grandmother. And what do we raise? A generation of kids that are crybabies, can't take male discipline, do not have a work ethic. How can you think that men cannot be involved in men's lives? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Any real man who is an alpha man will tell you, my grandfather did this for me, my father taught me this way. Men make men, and you should not be afraid to say that. Two, that you bring up a great point, Jamie. The Republican Party, and this is why we all left. I left George Bush, because why? All right, what he did to this country, he destroyed the Republican Party like Obama has destroyed the Democratic Party, with losing the House, the Senate, and Congress, and all the legislatures. We left because we're sick of turkey neck Mitch McConnell. We're sick of the John Boehners and the Paul Ryans. If we open up their freezers, there's probably 50 gold bars from China inside. We're tired of it. We want somebody, when you're a libertarian, that is the most important thing is we want as little government as possible.
Yeah.
We want to build that wall. And I think most of us on this panel are tired of hearing from the liberals the last few days, well, he's got to come into the middle. He's got to show presidential. Did Obama come into the middle? No. This next month, he better go down to that border. Get it optic.
You know, Michael, I think you're beating around the bush a lot, and you should just say what you really think. Okay. All right, Jeff, your view on the alpha male phenomenon and perhaps the conservative movement's also discomfort with it in terms of leftist brainwashing.
I just wanted to echo that. Donald Trump is an alpha male. Donald Trump is comfortable in his own skin. Donald Trump is going to do what Donald Trump wants to do. Nobody could take on the establishment, the media, the globalists in both parties and prevail like this guy did. 17 candidates he ran against. So we have alpha male. We don't have a Mitch McConnell. Don't have a Ryan. Thank goodness we don't have a Mitt Romney. We've got a leader. And I think Americans respond to that. I really do think he's going to be very successful. He's not going to care about any of this criticism. I mean, I think he's going to do what he wants to do. And that's what the American people wanted. We voted for that. He is the leader of the party. We voted for his agenda. We didn't vote for Mitch McConnell's agenda, Paul Ryan's agenda. They were repudiated by the 17 candidates who lost to Donald Trump. His agenda prevailed in the Republican nomination. He prevailed in the general election. It's his agenda now. It's his party. And I would just say any of those guys that don't come on board with the Trump agenda, they need to go. And I've got no patience for Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. That type of Republican party's been repudiated. It is now the Donald Trump Republican Party we need to get behind.
Well, thank you. And I think Americans definitely got that sentiment across when they voted. Ladies and gentlemen, we just have 2 minutes left. Please, 30 seconds each, but we got to touch on this. This is what's happening right now, right in front of us. Because of these leftist temper tantrums, there's so many pathologies. I know many of these leftists throwing these tantrums right now that have been very anti-Israel over the years. They're very anti-Israel. They're pro-Palestinian. They won't call Hamas a terrorist organization, etc. All of a sudden, they're very concerned about anti-Semitism, and Steve Bannon is an anti-Semite. And when I talk to them, they have no evidence of this because there is no evidence of it. Steve Bannon is a noble, heroic man that has stood on the side of Israel and blocked and unveiled pernicious anti-Semites in the Muslim Brotherhood. So he's a friend of Israel. They're slandering him. Meanwhile, I ask these people throwing these tantrums, what do you think about Keith Ellison, now going to be the head of the DNC potentially, and his record with the links to the Muslim Brotherhood? And they have nothing to say. This hypocrisy that the left has over this Bannon Ellison dynamic. Can you just give us 30 seconds each on that? Because I think it shows the pathology of these leftist temper tantrums. Tiffany?
Well, again, it goes back to a lack of intellectual consistency. They are hypocrites. And don't forget, when it comes to Islam trumps everything. We saw that with the Omar Mateen massacre, right? How they support LGBT rights. But when it came to, condemning Islam and an Islamic terror attack, the left couldn't do that. So it's the same thing. They'll call out anti-Semitism where it does not exist, but when it exists coming from a Muslim, they're going to be completely silent and willfully blind. So again, Islam trumps everything for the left.
Yeah, real pathology in this case. Michael?
I'm putting a company of mine in Egypt, so I've been blessed to be able to speak to some of the highest-ranking Egyptian officials who told me, and it's been verified for other friends who've worked in the NSA and still do right now, one thing you're going to see the next month, Jamie, in the next 2 months, is a lot of these officials from the NSA and both the FBI stepping down because of their Muslim Brotherhood connections. There are so many Muslim Brotherhood people all the way from Huma all the way down that have changed this society. You could say, man, Michael, you're crazy. Mike, you're nuts. It's just going to be just like the days of Roosevelt and looking at the Russian connection. It's disgusting and it was ever allowed to happen.
Thank you, Michael. And last word goes to the Buddha of wisdom and knowledge, Jeff.
Let me just say this. I agree with Michael about the Muslim Brotherhood connection. The first call Donald Trump got was from the president of Egypt. This is the man who took on the Muslim Brotherhood. So the one that we should be really looking at is Barack Obama and his Muslim Brotherhood connections, and Umma Abedin and her Muslim Brotherhood connections. Thank goodness we're going to have a president who's going to be a friend to Israel, and also, I think, be a real opponent of this Islamic terrorism. And by the way, folks, not be afraid to say radical Islamic terrorism. It's now going to be refreshing to have a president call out the enemy for who they really are.
Thank you very much, Jeff and Tiffany and Michael, for coming on the Glazov Gang. It was an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And keep doing what you're doing. We're very grateful to you getting the truth out. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. Please remember, we're a fan-generated program. Go to jamieglazov.com to support our show and make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel of the Glazov Gang. Good night.